to government, and also within the infrastructure on how they use our biological fluids, which is a form of transgressive art, and they use that as a form of incantations and things of that nature. So I've seen
Right.
that applies to this to that part of the publication. Let me see. And I also, when you go and get into the sex magic aspect of it, you can see why the great majority of the people within the infrastructure of media and celebrities and things of that nature, that's another way to make these blood packs by way of the biological fluids of, because I forgot his name, Aleister Crowley. They used to use it as a
Mm-hmm.
form of elixir, the man and the woman's biological fluids or sexual fluids. Okay, so right here in the publication, it says what is significant about the delusion, what has recurred throughout the human history is called the blood libel. So that's also applied to liberalism, and we all know that liberalism is also a branch of democracy. So, and it also tells you right here, they say they actually have fundamentalists, lawyers, doctors, TV repairmen, travel agents identified as secret symbols in the yellow pages. So that means that there is a secret language that's going on that we don't know about that's acclimated to the blood packs. So it also talks about the,
All,
go ahead.
all of those things that you just mentioned in the yellow pages are now digitized with different symbols
Mm-hmm.
and put on the internet. Right.
Right.
And this is how when they surf in the dark web, they know which sites to avoid.
Oh,
Right? Because they know that the people who run the site ain't in it, they not the same people.
mm.
Right? But if they got the right symbolism, the person searching the dark web, so oh, here we go, right here. This is the depravity that I need to see. So all of those things goes into understanding the mechanics of blood magic. And once you know the mechanics of it, your spiritual self, your higher self will begin to protect you from it. And this is one of the main reasons why we wanted to show these receipts.
And there's a certain one that I'm looking for that basically I want to show the people that on how this is all connected to government, and it's crazy. So they also talking about right here, it says, while the definition of blood sacrifice is beginning of this chapter used in the study of history, origins, and some writers wishing awaken their audience to the horrors of which humans are capable, have broadened the original definition of human sacrifice to include such as war, abortion, reduction of welfare benefits for children, reduction of educational benefits for children, the loss of afternoon milk for children, slavery, exploitation of natural resources, female discrimination, wife beatings, witch hunt, the LGBT persecution, child abuse, mistreatment of elders, capital punishment. All this stuff is all connected to government, which is basically extracted from the demo system. And then it says right here that the blood sacrifices old as the human race, it appears from the beginning of times, have felt an urge to sacrifice other living things for specific religious purposes, while some researchers has attempted to explain some blood sacrifices as cannibalism. And we all know where cannibalism comes from: Canaanite Babylonian blood magic, which is a form of sacrifice. And just like in the movie Crow, they was talking about sacrifice to these entities that don't take corporeal form, but they only can infiltrate certain individuals by way of the blood pact. And that also coincides with the what was that publication? The Bloody Oath of Secrecy, which is basically tied to the Constitution when written in Crispus Attucks, his blood. It was basically written in that. So how does that basically apply? Like all this stuff that I just read right here, how does that apply to, from your perspective, how do you think that applied to the demo system of democracy?
Well, it's not the system is the application of the underlying sorcery.
Okay.
In this case, they using the democratic system or the demon system to keep us participating in these rituals. Would you happen to have that picture of the DNC in the Chicago River?
Oh, I'm about to get. I gotta send it. I'm about to send it to myself right now. I forgot.
Okay, so while you doing that, they have had dyed the Chicago River red, which is also one of the Mosaic plagues on Egypt. Remember, we in Egypt, so they got to give us this. Not Egypt, but the civilization that's known as Egypt originated from over here. So that was like a satellite civilization to the old Atlantean civilization. This not ancient Kemet, this ancient Atlantis, but all of the stuff in Kemet came from the Atlanteans.
Facts.
Right? So they're using these systems, the blood magic, the money magic, and the sex magic, and they get to participate in them. The abortion ritual is a blood right. Right? And that's to give women the opportunity to not be responsible for who they have children by. Because if they don't like the baby daddy, they can go get it snatched out and he won't never know she was pregnant.
Fact.
Right? So all of these is different types of rituals. They take the placenta. The placenta is more valuable to them than the aborted fetus. Because they finna use all kind of magic on it. They finna put it in the cosmetics. They finna put it in food colorings and all kind of stuff and call it natural ingredients. They are natural.
Right.
But all of this is the system. The maintenance of the system is to compel as many people as possible to participate in the systemic bloodletting rituals, the blood rites.
Hold on. I'm about to drag it over here. All right.
So they said that they DNC Chicago River Red to celebrate abortion. Even the women that got abortion don't celebrate it.
Right.
That's what people are not paying attention to. The women who for whatever reason, some of them they can't afford to take care of a child, they got to have an abortion. Some of them is they too young to have a child, they have an abortion. All of the women that have abortions, some of them are tormented by that, which is also part of their blood rituals to cause these issues. This was only a week ago, less than a week ago.
Facts. So everything right now, like according to their timeline, it's divine, divination that's taking place. So, I'm saying that we definitely not making this up because they put everything in these publications. And I'm looking for a certain publication, how it shows you about how they talking about it in the education system as well.
It might be under the part where they're talking about the uses of blood magic in the church.
Oh, yeah. And okay. I think I know what you're talking about. All right. I think it's this right here. It talks about the sacrifices in the early Hebrew days in the New Testament.
So a lot of Christians are unwitting dupes is what they call them. An unwitting dupe is somebody who don't have a clue that they tricked into something that they've been tricked into, and they're so dedicated to it that they will defend it, never knowing what they defending.
Right.
Right. Can you blow that up some more? I want people to see this part because we finna go into this part about the religious dogma of the. Okay, let's go up to the top. So here we go.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to say blood has played a significant part in the drama of human history. In the Old Testament, there are numerous references to the blood sacrifices practiced by the early Hebrews. when the references of the New Testament are included, there are 375 references to blood in the entire Bible. Right? Now, the numbers is significant.
Mm-hmm.
The references to blood in the Bible are both complex and contradictory. Much of this can be resolved by employing simple ideas such as who is speaking when the passage was written, how was it used, who is the object of the discussion, and what is the relationship between parties involved. You scroll down.
All right.
I'm trying to find where we was at so I can pick up.
Oh, okay. I'll scroll down too far. Yeah, after the 375 references.
Right. Then it said
the parties involved, and sometimes
the blood sacrifice is of a supreme good, and at other times is of a supreme evil. Frequently, it is used metaphorically, as in the case of the Eucharist, and the interpretation depends on whether the blood sacrifice and blood were considered good or evil, and for whom. Right? For the sake of exercise, compare the 4 following passages from the Bible. So then you give us 4 different biblical references about blood being used in the Bible for comparative analysis on how the blood is being used, what is being used for, what's the goal, who they doing it for, all that stuff in the Bible would tell you. Right? So biblically, the ones who want the most blood is Yahweh.
Yep. So that basically applies to the Tetragrammaton as well. And I forgot they use the sigil system of the Tetragrammaton, and they use it in the form of incantation, and they entrap the energy around of a circle when they do these blood packs. So they go to Revelations. These
the Tetragrammaton, which is what they call the ineffable name, the name that you should never utter. That's why they don't put no vowels in it. Right? But it's Yahweh. Right? But Yahweh in Sumer is Enlil.
Facts.
Right? He got a son named Baal Hadad. That's the one they keep calling Lord. Baal is being translated as Lord. And they got you thinking this is all one person in order, because you ain't supposed to know.
Right.
It's not one person. Right. So in the Hebrew, you got El sometimes used for God, you got Elo used for God, you got Elohim. Right? Then you got for Lord, you got Baal, Adonai, and it's a couple more of them. But the whole thing is when they translate it into English, and if you don't go back to the ancient language, you will never know none of this. You will think that it's one continuous story about one God that's doing all of this stuff to fight evil, and he killing everybody.
Facts.
He the one doing all the killing. The devil, who the devil killed? God told Joshua to kill off the whole village. He told Moses the same thing. He sent Melchizedek to go and help Abraham murder nations. Literally, that's what it say. Right? So when we looking at this, who's doing all the bloodletting? And speaking of Yahweh, the famous blood sacrifice story, with which most of us are familiar, is the Abraham and Isaac. As we are told, Abraham was ordered by ineffable name to kill his son Isaac. Abraham is about to do this in obedience to his God Yahweh. When the holy, go to the next one.
All right.
Okay, so we probably don't have them.
Yeah, I
don't have them in direct order.
But that basically just shows people like a lot of people don't understand the fact that the church and the state is not separate, because they all connected by way of canon laws. So government and religious text basically applies together for those who don't understand that whole, synopsis of what he just read. because that's why the blood has to be spilled by way of monotheistic religion that's acclimated to government. It all works in tandem. So it also talks about, let me see. There was one part of the book that I was reading that I found very significant. And it was, I think this is the other part right here. I'll blow it up for you. Because it's a continuation of talking about how Abraham and Yahweh, he was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, this is the next page. One tells them not to. It says, instead of a covenant is made between Abraham and Yahweh, and a new epic of history begins. In this case, the blood sacrifice served at least two purposes. One, to test Abraham and to symbolize the beginning of a new epic in Hebrew history. The other religious scholars have believed that Abraham-Isaac's story simply served as a warning by God to his people not to harm others and to stop practicing the then prevalent pagan ritual of child sacrifice. Now, that's the irony, because this the same God tell you that if your child disobedient, you should stone him to death.
Facts.
Right? And this the same God that told them to kill the women, the children, the livestock, and don't leave nothing in the land alive. And then they brought back the best of the flock, and he said, I ain't want none of that shit.
Right.
I wanted you to kill it all.
Yep.
Now I gotta punish you because you was disobedient. And they thought they was doing they righteous God a righteous service. Mm-hmm. Later we will see how the blood sacrifice is being used to initiate a new period of history. In fact, many social historians and philosophers believe that war served the same purpose. It's right there. Exactly. It said, with the definition of the blood sacrifice at the beginning of this chapter has been used in the study of its history and origin. Some writers, wishing to awaken their audience to the horrors of which humans are capable, have broadcasted the original definition of human sacrifice to include such themes as war, abortion, reduction of welfare benefits for children, reduction of educational benefits for children, the loss of afternoon milk for children, slavery, the exploitation of natural resources, female discrimination, wife beatings, the witch hunt, homosexual persecution, child abuse, the mistreatment of elders, and capital punishment. We will discuss the use and misuse of the meaning of blood sacrifice later on in the chapter. So you see here, he done tied it into the school system, to the milk, which takes us back to the video I did with Empress, where we talked about the milk of the mother, right? This is why they keep giving us cow's milk. It's a sacrifice. Do we supposed to use the substance of the cow, but we're not supposed to consume the cow. The milk is supposed to be a prosperity ritual for Lakshmi, right? And the drinking of the milk is the consuming of the blessings of Lakshmi. But when they add other blood sacrifices, it's telling Lakshmi that you a heathen, you a terror, you wicked, you putting blood with the milk to contaminate the children. Now you understand how they tricking us.
So that means that everything in our
blood sacrifice. Yeah, it say the blood sacrifices of the human race. It appears that from the beginning, we already read that, didn't we?
Yeah, we already read it. Yeah, everything in our life, you know what I'm saying? We don't even know it's a sacrifice. That's crazy. And you know, even the milk, it's got 75,000 somatic cells. So you really just drinking pus and blood at the same time. So let me see. We're going to get into, where's it at? There was a significant part when it was talking about Chronos that I was tapped into. Yeah, here we go. Now, this I found this very interesting. It's talking about Uranus, which is Orion star constellation, which is another title for heaven. And the Gaia focuses on the children of Earth being trapped by the sexual embrace of the sky and Earth. To free her children, Gaia makes a sickle and gives to Kronos her son. Kronos, not the same as Chronos, although frequently interchanged with Father Time. Castrates his father, putting an end to the union of the sky and Earth. Uranus' blood falls to the Earth, and then these drops of blood, the 12 Titans and the Titaness, are created. The blood sacrifice put an end to the era of Uranus, who kept his children prisoners of Earth. On the other hand, Kronos ate his children. So that means that, like, in order to basically encapsulate us inside this fermented dome and to keep this perpetual cycle going on under the sleep spell of Kingu and the sleep spell of Leviathan, we're basically in a prison planet, and it's all being based upon like sacrifice. So the more that they basically deviate from the ideology of sacrifice, because we know that their time is up, because we at the end of the purification period of their system. So does that mean that by way of their factions of government, when they stop having the chances to do all these blood rituals and things of that nature, would that basically dematerialize the grid system or the firmament? Would that basically make heaven connect with Earth again? Is that what that basically implying?
Okay, so this is the operational instructions for the application of the spell of Kingu. This is the Greek description of them applying Kingu to trap us in the system, but we're not trapped by external forces. We're in a stupor. We can't see in that with the eyes of God. We can only see with the eyes of man, because that's the purpose of this ritual, right? And the reason why they say Kronos eat his children is because he outlives them, because he's an eternal. But his children have to go through, they live eternity through reincarnation cycles. So if Kronos represents time, time is as Father Time is Kronos, but we all know that the older version is Mother Time, which is Kalima. Right? So all these things happen, and we become oblivious to it, and they keep it in print so that they can share it to each other, for each other to know, but we ain't supposed to know.
Thanks.
That's why they say if you want to hide something from a ninja, put it in the book.
Yep.
Because we was traditionally oral disseminators of knowledge. We didn't do this with the secret squirrel, write it down and pass the note under the table, which became volumes and volumes. So they
hold on, Ryan. You can't hear you.
Once they put them in the back on.
Yeah, hold on for a second. Trying to wait till it catch up a little bit. All right.
Right. So once they start putting it in book form, then they can control the narrative of what you should study if you're a good person, and what you shouldn't study if you're a bad person. But when you get to the higher realms, there is no good people or bad people. They just people. When you get to the higher realms, there is no light-skinned people, dark-skinned people. They just people, because they're all represented by a light body. When you're in a light body, you don't have a race. You don't have an ethnicity. You have to take on physical form, and normally the form you take on is the prevailing genetics, if you are Etherian, of the surrounding culture. So if you want other cultures to be able to tap into, they call it tying into the vine, then they have to be also on the same geography as what we call the main line, the main bloodline. And this is your Mississippians, that all of these other tribes are tied in. They call it twigging. And then they call it the one drop of blood doctrine. Right? And where do you go to get the one drop of blood? You go to God's crucible. It's another epithet for America. Once you in God's crucible, now you submerge in what's called the great melting pot.
Yep.
Right? Once you in the great melting pot, the goal is catharsis. Right? So the most wicked people had to do the most wicked stuff to the most righteous people, because the most righteous people can take it better than everybody else. So
that's mainly why. Go ahead. My bad.
Yeah. So this is why you seeing being played out in front of us. Mm-hmm. They're playing it out in front of us to say, "See, I told them." They just didn't speak the language.
So that's mainly why the great majority, because a lot of people be like, "Well, why are we so discriminated against?" Because it's all according to their blood contracts that they have. So where is this at? Okay.
You see this? The idea of an American vote is not much different from other ideas about a chosen people.
Yeah,
chosen people, including the Nazis, always have the right to perform blood sacrifices. Think about that for a minute. Now, the people that send our children to war don't send their children to war.
Right.
Why they don't send their children and why they send ours? See, it's whose hands is the blood on, and how can they use a cat's paw? They always using somebody else to do the dirt for them, so you won't never know who it is doing the dirt. This how all of their isms, racism, sexism, casteism, this is where all of these isms work. They manipulate your ignorance to their advantage, and then they compel you to defend your ignorance with pride.
They some dirty mofos, ain't they? And
Look, it said the best of the reconciliation is always a process of myth making and fictionalizing. Those sacrificed in this way, are always less, inferior, non-human, not like us. This is very similar to Reagan's notion of the evil empire, the Russian communists looting and raping American business. When America was financing Russia when it was communist the whole time. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Wow.
Go back, you can pull up an almanac from any time before the wall fell. And the number one economic aid to the communist Russia was the United States. They was giving them billions of dollars a year. So let's go into the practice of blood sacrifice. Let's throw this up so that people can see it.
All right.
It's the extent to which the blood sacrifice for practice is quite large. In fact, the types of people and the details of the various sacrifice would require volumes. Some examples from different parts of the world. Then it goes into Abraham kills Isaac to create a new orientation for the Hebrews in Greek mythology. Agamemnon kills his daughter, Iphigenia, so the winds can carry the Greek ships to rescue Helen and Troy. The idol god Molech cult sacrificed children by fire. The Germans had a covenant with their gods which demanded not only animal and human sacrifice, but supported sacrifices for victories over their enemies and the sacrifice for funerals. So they just used the blood ritual to capitalize on us at every turn, because we don't know, we not protecting ourselves spiritually by selectively opting out of as many other rituals as we can, and we begin to wake up.
That basically
then the power and the hold that the blood magic have starts to dissipate. But you got to be able to identify whether it's in the church, the mosque, or whether it's on Wall Street, or whether it's in DC, or whether it's in Hollywood. And what you see a lot of celebrities doing is actually telling on them. When you see them celebrities doing, they actually telling on the people that's putting them up to it. This right here, they literally telling you, the people running Hollywood, this is what they into. But they dress it up in costume form to make it more palatable, because most people don't believe it's going on.